30 minutes to change your life forever. I want to talk to you today, not just as someone with a microphone, but as someone who has been there. Someone who has faced the confusion, the noise, the fear, and still chose to listen. Because here's the truth, 30 minutes can change your life forever. Yes, just 30 minutes. Not a lifetime, not a year, not even a full day. 30 minutes of real intention. 30 minutes of choosing you. The power of stillness. First, give yourself permission to be still. That's where the magic begins. Turn off the phone, close the door, shut out the noise. For 30 minutes, you are no one's mother, no one's daughter, no one's employee, no one's anything. You are simply you. And in that moment, you are enough. That stillness, whether it's 5 minutes of silence or simply watching the breath move in and out of your body, isn't empty. It's full of answers. Because when the world gets quiet, you get loud. Your soul starts to speak. It says, I'm still here. I've always been here. Now listen, reflect on who you are. In these 30 minutes, I want you to ask yourself a question. What am I really doing with this life? I've been given, not what others expect, not what looks good on Instagram, not what your family or society says you should be, but what your heart has been whispering all along. And don't be afraid if the answer surprises you or scares you, because that's how growth begins. In the discomfort of truth, let go of the old. You don't have to carry the story of your past into your future. Just because something was, doesn't mean it must be. In these 30 minutes, give yourself permission to release the guilt, the shame, the regret, the what ifs, the fear of not being good enough. You are not defined by your mistakes. You are defined by what you do after them. Forgive yourself. Forgive them. And decide, this is the beginning. Step into the new. Now visualize the version of you who is fully alive, fully expressed, walking confidently, speaking with power, radiating light. That version isn't waiting in the distant future. She's already inside of you, waiting to be let out. So ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today that aligns with her? Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's saying no to something toxic. Maybe it's taking the first step on a dream you've kept buried. Baramo. Whatever it is, do it. That's how lives change. Not with massive leaps, but with intentional steps. The secret of 30 minutes. Every single day gives you another chance. You don't need permission. You don't need the stars to align. You just need 30 minutes of truth. That's all. 30 minutes of showing up for yourself. And if you do it today and again tomorrow, you look back one day and say, that's why stillness is power. When you choose to step away from the world, even for just 30 minutes, you give yourself the greatest gift anyone can receive: reconnection. Reconnection to your breath, to your intuition, to your peace, to your deepest truth. I want you to think of stillness not as emptiness, but as a full, sacred space. It's not a pause, it's a reset. And it's where transformation begins. Because when you're still, you finally get to hear the questions that matter. Am I happy? Am I aligned with the life I'm living? Am I running toward something I love or running away from something I fear? When was the last time I felt peace that wasn't dependent on someone else's approval? These aren't easy questions, but they are necessary ones. We spend so much time chasing things, relationships, success, validation, without realizing we're moving on autopilot. We keep going, because the silence scares us. Because we're afraid of what we'll discover if we slow down. But here's the beautiful truth. What you discover in stillness is not scary. It's sacred. It's honest. It's you. And there's nothing more powerful than someone who truly knows themselves. When you sit in stillness, even for just 30 minutes, you start to realize that you are not your to-do list. You are not your job title. You are not your number of followers, your relationship status, or the opinions of others. You are something deeper, something wiser, something unshakable. You begin to recognize the difference between your ego and your essence. Your ego screams, your soul whispers, and the soul only speaks in stillness. You may discover that some of the things you've been chasing aren't really your dreams. They're someone else's version of success, handed down to you by culture, family, or fear. You may realize you've outgrown a life you're still living, or that your spirit is calling you in a completely new direction. That's okay. That's where change begins. And it all starts with a choice. A choice to be still, to unplug, to stop explaining yourself to the world, to sit in your own energy without distractions, and just be. Because when you do, you start to remember who you are before the world told you who you had to be. This is not about meditating for hours or escaping to the mountains. You don't need a spiritual retreat. You need 30 minutes. Just 30 minutes a day to sit with yourself, breathe, listen, and reconnect. It could be sitting quietly on the floor, going for a walk without your phone, journaling your thoughts, or just watching the sunrise in silence. Whatever it looks like for you, do it. Not once, not when things fall apart, but daily. Make stillness your non-negotiable. Make it your ritual, because in those moments, the fog clears. The confusion fades and clarity returns. That clarity, it's not something that comes from outside. It's been within you all along. You just had to quiet the world long enough to hear it. Stillness isn't weakness, it's your hidden strength. It's where your wisdom gathers. It's where your resilience builds. It's where your purpose becomes visible. And once you've touched that space, once you've heard the truth of your own soul, nothing and no one can shake you again. This is your invitation. Not to hustle harder, not to chase louder, but to pause and finally listen to the voice that's been waiting all this time. Your own. At some point in life, every one of us reaches a crossroads. Not always a dramatic one. Sometimes it's quiet. A soft nudge in the soul. A whisper that says, pause. Look around. Are you truly living the life you were meant to live? Or just existing in the one you fell into? And that moment, that whisper is sacred. It's a call to reflect, to look inward and ask the question most people avoid their entire lives. Who am I really? Not who the world told you to be. Not who you had to become to survive. Not the version of you that gets applause, validation, likes, or approval, but the real you, the one that existed before expectations, before pressure, before the masks. There is no transformation without reflection. There is no growth without honesty. And there is no peace without truth. So today, I want to challenge you to take 30 minutes, just 30 minutes, to ask yourself the hard questions, not to criticize, not to judge, but to understand. Because the most powerful person in any room is the one who truly knows themselves. Start with this. What am I really doing with my life? Not what looks good on paper, not what earns you a paycheck, not what other people admire, but what feels aligned in your spirit, what feels honest in your heart. We spend so much of our lives trying to become what others expect, chasing degrees, careers, relationships, lifestyles, only to wake up one day and wonder, how did I get here? Whose dream am I living? Because somewhere along the way you stop checking in with yourself. You stop asking if the life you're living actually feels like yours. And that's when the soul starts to ache. That ache isn't depression. It's not failure. It's your spirit trying to wake you up. It's saying you've been so busy doing, you forgot to just be. You've been so focused on becoming successful, you forgot to become yourself. And here's what happens when you sit with that discomfort, when you stop running and start reflecting. You begin to see clearly. You begin to separate truth from illusion. You begin to realize what actually matters. Maybe you realize you've been living for someone else's approval. Your parents, your partners, your peers. Maybe you notice that the goals you set 5 years ago no longer inspire you. Maybe you recognize that the people you surround yourself with don't reflect your values anymore. That's okay. That's not failure. That's evolution. Reflection is not about regret. It's about realignment. It's about finally telling yourself the truth. Even if it's inconvenient, even if it's scary, even if it means letting go of a story you've told yourself for years. Because the truth will always set you free, but only if you're brave enough to face it. So ask yourself, what parts of my life feel forced? What feels heavy? Where am I shrinking to make others comfortable? What would I choose if I didn't fear judgment? If money wasn't an issue? If I truly believed I was enough? You see, clarity isn't something that appears out of thin air. Clarity comes when you dare to get honest with yourself. It comes when you stop lying to protect your comfort and start telling the truth to protect your peace. Most people don't reflect because they're afraid of what they'll find. But here's what they miss. Inside you is not just pain. Inside you is purpose. And when you dig past the layers of who you were told to be, you'll finally uncover who you were born to be. You'll remember that you are more than your role, more than your responsibilities, more than the image you've crafted for the world. You are a whole, powerful, evolving soul, and you deserve a life that reflects that. So take the time, take 30 minutes, sit with the silence, write your truth in a journal, ask the big questions, don't rush to fix anything, to see yourself clearly, deeply, honestly. That awareness, that self-reflection, it's not the end of your journey. It's the beginning of your awakening. And once you truly know who you are, you'll stop settling for anything less than what honors your truth. There comes a moment in your journey when holding on becomes heavier than letting go. A moment when the weight of your guilt, your fear, your regrets becomes too heavy to carry into the life you're trying to build. That moment is sacred. That moment is now. For so long, we've been taught to keep going, to push through, to tough it out. But strength isn't about how much you can carry. True strength is knowing when to put things down. Knowing when a story, a belief, a relationship, or a version of yourself has reached its limit, and choosing to let it go without apology. In just 30 minutes, you can begin the process of emotional release. This isn't about forgetting the past. It's about freeing yourself from the parts of it that no longer serve you. Because you are not your worst day. You are not your broken moments. You are not the person you had to become to survive something painful. You are who you choose to become after that. You are your healing. You are your rising. We hold on to so much. Guilt over what we did or didn't do. Fear of what might happen if we change. Regret over who we hurt or how long we stayed. But guilt doesn't undo the past. Fear doesn't protect your future, and regret doesn't bring peace. These emotions are real, yes. They're human. But they're not meant to be permanent homes. They're messengers. They arrive to be acknowledged and then released. Because when you keep them too long, they become walls between you and your joy. So take these 30 minutes and treat them like a sacred ceremony, not for anyone else, just for you. Sit quietly and ask yourself, what am I still holding on to that's weighing me down? Whose voice is still echoing in my mind, telling me I'm not enough? What pain am I protecting instead of healing? What would my life feel like if I allowed myself to be free? You don't have to have all the answers today, but the power lies in the asking. Because the moment you start asking the right questions, you begin pulling the thread that unravels everything false and reveals everything true. Let go of the guilt that says you should have known better. You didn't. You knew what you knew, and you acted from the level of awareness you had at the time. Now you know better. And that's what growth is. Let go of the fear that says you won't survive without them, without that job, that comfort zone, that old identity. You've already survived things you never thought you would. You've already walked through fires no one else saw. You're not weak. You're becoming strong in a way that's not loud, but unshakable. Let go of the regret that replays the past like a movie stuck on repeat. You can't edit yesterday's script, but you can rewrite the next scene. And you get to choose the tone, the characters, and the direction it takes. Releasing what no longer serves you doesn't mean pretending it never mattered. It means honoring what it taught you, and then placing it gently down. It means saying, thank you for the lesson, but I no longer need the pain. Think of it like cleaning out a room you've lived in for years. You've collected so much. Some things useful, others outdated. Some things beautiful, others broken. You don't throw it all away in one sweep. You sit piece by piece, asking, does this still reflect who I am? That's what emotional release is. A slow, intentional clearing of your inner space so that your soul has room to breathe, to grow, to expand, because when you release, you create space. And when you create space, you invite something new. new peace, new clarity, new strength, new purpose. You are not meant to carry everything forever. You are meant to evolve, to shed skins, to lay burdens down, and to rise lighter, freer, clearer. This is your detox, not of the body, but of the heart, of the mind, of the soul. So give yourself permission to let go, not just mentally, but emotionally, physically, spiritually. You don't need to keep proving your worth through struggle. You don't need to stay loyal to pain just because it's familiar. You don't need to keep defining yourself by what broke you. You are allowed to feel joy again. You are allowed to forgive yourself. You are allowed to outgrow everything that once felt like home, but now feels like a cage. This moment, this simple act of sitting still and releasing is more powerful than any achievement, any recognition, any external validation. Because in this moment, you are choosing you. You are choosing freedom. You are choosing life. Close your eyes for a moment. Not to escape, but to see more clearly. Not the world around you, but the world within you. I want you to imagine the version of you who has stepped into her full power. The version who walks with certainty, who loves herself without apology, who speaks with clarity, who moves through life not trying to prove her worth, but knowing it. This version of you exists. She's not a fantasy. She's not a distant dream. She is real. She's just buried underneath layers of fear, self-doubt, past wounds, and societal conditioning. But here's the truth. She's already inside you, waiting, watching, whispering. Every time you hesitate, every time you settle, every time you shrink, she nudges you. You were made for more, she says. You are more. Visualizing your higher self isn't about pretending. It's about remembering. It's about realigning with the person you were always meant to be before the world told you who to become. So take these 30 minutes, not to worry, not to overthink, but to see her, visualize her face, her posture, her energy. How does she wake up in the morning? What kind of thoughts fill her mind? How does she respond when life gets hard? Not with fear, but with wisdom. She's calm, not because life is perfect, but because she's rooted in who she is. She's joyful, not because everything is easy, but because she has chosen gratitude over lack. She's confident, not because she has all the answers, but because she trusts herself to figure it out. That's who you're becoming. That's who you've always been. Now here's the key. You don't become her by waiting. You become her by acting today. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. But it does begin immediately with one small action that aligns with who she is. Ask yourself, what would she do right now? Would she continue giving her energy to people who drain her? Would she stay quiet when her soul wants to speak? Would she hide her gifts to avoid being judged? Or would she rise? Would she stand in her truth, even if her voice shakes? Would she take that risk? Not because she's fearless, but because her vision is bigger than her fear. We often wait for the right time, the perfect moment, the green light. But the truth is, you don't wait for your higher self to arrive. You meet her halfway. Every small action that honors your worth brings you closer. Saying no to what drains you, that's her. Waking up 30 minutes earlier to focus on your goals. That's her. Choosing peace over drama. That's her. Taking care of your body, your boundaries, your dreams. That's all her. And here's the beautiful thing. The more you act like her, the more you become her. The distance between who you are and who you want to be begins to collapse. Because the truth is, you're not becoming someone new, you're returning to yourself. The self you were before fear got loud, before the world made you small, before comparison told you who you weren't. Your higher self has always been there, patiently waiting for you to see her, believe in her, and step into her. So don't underestimate the power of today. Don't minimize the significance of a single choice. Big change doesn't happen all at once. It's built moment by moment, breath by breath, choice by choice. Visualize her, yes. But then move. Make one small decision that honors her vision. One small step that brings you into alignment. Because when your action matches your vision, momentum begins. And momentum is powerful. It's what turns habits into identity. It's what turns dreams into reality. It's what transforms the woman you dream about into the woman you are. This process doesn't require perfection. It only requires intention. You will have days when you doubt. You will have moments when you fall. But your higher self isn't someone who never struggles. She's someone who never stays stuck. She learns, she adjusts, she keeps moving forward. With grace, with grit, with purpose. So take this time, just 30 minutes, to be with her, to listen to her, to become her. And remember, every version of you that came before this moment prepared you for who you're stepping into now. You are not behind. You are becoming. You are not lost. You are awakening. You are not waiting for a new life to arrive. You are creating it, one aligned step at a time. Transformation isn't something that strikes like lightning. It doesn't crash into your life suddenly in a flash of perfection. It's not dramatic, not loud, and certainly not instant. Real transformation, the kind that lasts, is slow, intentional, and deeply personal. And most importantly, it's consistent. You don't need to wait for a life-altering event to become the person you're meant to be. You don't need a new year, a new month, or a Monday. You just need 30 minutes every day, not once, not when you feel like it, but daily. Because 30 minutes of intentional growth every single day can change everything. We often think it takes giant leaps to transform our lives, that in order to evolve, we have to quit our jobs, leave everything behind, move across the world, or do something big and brave. But the truth is, what actually changes your life is what you do quietly, consistently, when no one is watching. What you do when the alarm goes off and you decide to stay up. What you do when you put your phone down and open a book that feeds your mind. What you do when you sit in silence instead of scrolling through noise. What you do when you choose growth over comfort. That's what builds a new life. 30 minutes may not sound like much, but those 30 minutes are sacred. They are yours. A daily window to come back to your purpose, a chance to recalibrate, to recommit, and to reconnect with the person you are becoming. What you do with those 30 minutes will either move you closer to your vision or away from it. The choice is yours. Spend them in distraction and nothing changes. Spend them in intention and everything shifts. You can use those 30 minutes to journal your thoughts, heal from your past, dream about your future, or take one bold step toward your goals. You can read, reflect, pray, plan, write, learn, stretch, visualize. But whatever you do it with intention. You might not see the results on day 1 or day 2 or even day 10, but give it time.